Welcome to the very first lesson in the Spanish Kickstart Series. My name is Josh and I'm glad you're here. In helping you to build a solid foundation in Spanish, our launching point will be Spanish pronunciation. No matter what your goal is in Spanish learning, it's going to start with learning how to say and pronounce the words correctly. Over the next series of lessons, we'll talk about vowels, consonants, and where to place the stress in words. But don't worry, I'll be right here walking you through it, and the rules in Spanish are much simpler as compared to English. So if you're ready to go, let's get started. Now, pronunciation might not be the most exciting place to start in Spanish. I know you're ready to start learning words and phrases and begin using your Spanish right away. However, we want to take the time to make sure that we're focusing on the basic foundational principles in regards to pronunciation. We don't want to have to go back and correct things later after we've learned them the wrong way and after we already have a solid foundation in Spanish. Here I'll provide you with an example. Now, I don't expect you to understand a single word that you see on the screen right now, so don't worry about that. However, I do want to show that pronunciation can help or hinder us in two specific ways. One, of course, we want native speakers to be able to understand us when we speak. For example, if I applied my English brain, my English pronunciation to this particular phrase on the screen, I may come up with something like Quiero hablar español porque me gustaría visitar otros países. Now, I've heard second and third year Spanish students speak in this way. The problem is native speakers might not understand you at all or have a difficult time understanding what you're trying to say. Secondly, it will also hinder your ability to understand native speakers when they speak in the future. If I learned this phrase in the way that I just spoke it, I may have a hard time understanding a native speaker when they say, Quiero hablar español porque me gustaría visitar otros países. Now, even though as a student I may understand every word that I see on the screen, I may understand how the verbs are put together, I may understand the sentence structure, I may understand it completely if I see it. However, I may have a difficult time understanding what I'm hearing. So, let's focus on pronunciation in the very beginning, how to put words together, and that way we're used to hearing words in the right manner so that we understand them in the future. Now, I do want to mention that our focus will be on Latin American pronunciation. Latin American Spanish speakers differ slightly from speakers, for instance, in Spain that speak what we call sometimes Castilian Spanish. As you can see, Latin American Spanish speakers make up about 400 million speakers worldwide, whereas those in Spain and those that speak Castilian Spanish are about 43 million speakers. If you're from the United States, most of the native speakers that you're going to encounter will probably be from Latin America. However, you will come in contact with those from Europe or Spain, and you'll notice that their pronunciation is slightly different. That's okay. You'll still be understood when you speak, and you'll still be able to have a conversation. You'll just notice that the pronunciation of certain words may be slightly different. We'll look at an example on the next slide. One of the major differences between Castilian Spanish and Latin American Spanish lie within the C's and the Z's in Spanish. In Latin America, certain C's and Z's are pronounced like the English S, so with an S sound. Whereas in Spain, those same C's and Z's are pronounced with a TH sound. For example, the first word you see on the screen in Latin America would be pronounced hace, hace, where the C has an S sound. Whereas in Spain, this same word would be pronounced hace, hace, where the C has a TH sound. Also in the second word, in Latin America, corazón, corazón. The same word pronounced in Spain would be corazón, corazón. Although it may be difficult to pronounce Spanish words initially, I want to reassure you that the rules in Spanish are actually much simpler than those in English. In English, we have many words that are spelled exactly the same, but are pronounced differently. For example, we have the word tear which can also be pronounced tear, even though it's spelled exactly the same. We also have bass and bass. We also have dove and dove, two very different words, two pronunciations, but spelled exactly the same. We also have lead and lead, and there are many, many more examples. We also have words in English that are spelled differently, but they sound exactly the same. For example, week and week, there, pray, pray, break, and break. All very different words, but pronounced exactly the same. The good news is that this is much rarer in Spanish. Spanish words are generally spelled like they sound and sound like they are spelled. This makes it easy on us as we begin to look at new words. We should be able to pronounce the word without any outside help. One bit of good news for us is that Spanish has only 5 vowel sounds. Compare that to English, which has over 12 vowel sounds, and French, which has over 16. Take a look at the letter A in English, for example. In the words apple, cake, father, ball, any, the letter A in all of these words is pronounced differently. The sound of the letter A can change simply based on the letters around it. This can be very confusing for a non-native speaker of English. Even within the same word, take the name Abraham, for example. Every single A in this word is pronounced differently. Ham. So even within the same word, the letter sound can change in English. And this is not just with the letter A. The letter I, for example, in the words ice, if, machine, the sound of the letter I changes in all of these words. As mentioned before, however, the good news in Spanish is that this doesn't happen. There are only 5 vowel sounds in Spanish, and even better, each one of the vowels only has one sound. So every time that I see an A, E, I, O, or U, it's going to make the same sound. So I can look at a word in Spanish, break it down by the vowel sounds, and understand pretty closely how the word should be pronounced. So in the next video, we'll take a look at how to pronounce the 5 vowel sounds in Spanish.